On this episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast, we talk about Punisher by Phoebe Bridgers. Everyone, welcome to another episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
We're two professional broadcasters. We like metal, and we like to talk about it, but also we like things that aren't metal.
Right.
And we like to set aside some time to talk about those things that we like that aren't metal. And September is one of those times. So this is our second episode of the month, and I decided to bring an album that I've been listening to quite a lot for like a year and a half now. I didn't listen to it when it came out because I wouldn't have considered myself a Phoebe Bridgers fan at the time, but this album kind of turned me into one. And it's a fantastic indie album is probably the best, the most succinct umbrella term with which to describe it.
You really sort of gave us two albums this week. I mean, there's like an EP.
Yeah, there's an EP that I wanted you to listen to. Did you listen to it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Cool.
I did. I enjoy it. It's more like 90s alternative than this is. This is more of there's just a lot of experimental elements to this.
The EP that I wanted you to listen to was Boygenius.
Right.
By the band Boygenius, which also features Phoebe Bridgers.
Right.
Along with Julien Baker and Lucy Dacus, who also provide vocals for Punisher as well. They're on a couple of songs. Sure. But the main attraction tonight is Punisher by Phoebe Bridgers, which is a fantastic album. It's her second full-length album, came out in 2020. I think before everything in 2020. I think is from the before months, if I remember correctly. Let me actually check on that.
January.
Yeah.
Perhaps February.
Give me a second.
In the before times.
In the before times. Well, because it's weird to think about 2020 and remember it's like, oh yeah, there were a good couple of months before everything happened. Oh, it was released in June.
Oh, so it was when everything was happening.
That is true.
It was probably recorded prior to that.
Oh, yeah. Well, like the album was recorded over the course of like a couple of years. On and off work was being done on it. Basically, since she got done with her first album, songs would be recorded here and there. And, you know, bits and pieces were written. But
her lyrics are fantastic.
She's a wonderful musician. We'll talk more about that in a bit. First, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic,
my friend.
This is the time of the year, September and October. I always forget. I don't know why I always forget. I've been here for since Dirt was here. And I always forget that September and October, my favorite weather months. Yeah, the best weather months.
They're good months for weather.
You can open your window and get a nice cool breeze if you want. And at night I'm thinking I can shut this window. It's cool enough in here now.
My issue with leaving the window open at night is not the temperature. My issue with it is, for whatever reason, it doesn't seem to matter what the relative humidity is outside. This place gets incredibly dry if I leave the window open overnight, and I will wake up at 3 a.m. with my nostrils on fire.
Neat.
And I will not be able to go back to sleep until I fill up my humidifier, turn it on, have it run for about 10 minutes until it actually starts kicking out moisture. And then I plant my face in front of it for like a solid minute because, again, it feels like my nostrils are on fire.
Because they're dry.
They're very dry. I didn't think I was... I don't know when I became so sensitive to like the air moisture levels, but it gets that way like during... You fucked it up.
I didn't do anything.
You touched the headphones somehow.
I didn't do anything.
But anyway...
I put my leg up.
There's like at some point during the winter at work, it will get so fucking dry in that building. I mean, that's something that we're all well aware of because literally every piece of metal in that building becomes a shock risk.
Yes, exactly. So you know what? The best thing you can do That sounds good. The best thing, by the way, I don't know if did you realize that walking into the studio before you go in there, there's a light switch. You just touch one of the nuts.
That never seems to work for me.
Really?
I can't seem to discharge on it. Hey. What I usually do is I touch one of the screws over by the mini disc player.
Okay. So you can discharge on a screw.
Yep.
Okay.
I touch the screw that holds the mini disc player into that rack there on the side.
Okay.
Which is maybe not technically the safest place to touch, but it's better than touching the board.
Sure, yeah. Oh, and you definitely don't want to discharge onto the rack either. I mean, are you okay? What are you doing over there? Wait.
Sorry, I was possessed by a goblin for a second.
You know what I did today?
My cat is concerned about me, apparently.
Yeah, she's making sound. I never hear her make sound. Oh, and she's going up into the lap.
Come on.
I tried that
jump if you're gonna jump.
That new burger place today.
Oh, the Smash Factory or whatever?
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of mad that they stole the name of my apartment, but I mean
funny.
It's gonna be weird when somebody types that into maps and they're like, "Oh, I'm at a burger joint."
Anyway. How was it?
It was very good. It's one of the best burgers I've had in a long time. I got tater tots with it because the fries aren't in yet. And the tater tot, here, check this out. I actually went in there and I sat down. I didn't track far enough ahead. And I looked at my phone and I went, oh, crap, I got to go back to my apartment and then do the 5 o'clock news because it was, 4:40 already.
Yeah.
I better get on that. So I took my tater tots with me and my burger. And after I did the news and the rest of my tracking, the tots were still crispy. That's good. I don't know what kind of tots these are, but these are fucking super tots.
Them tots stayed crispy. Are they the what the fuck is that? Yeah, I was trying to think of the dumb baseball team name that's been pitched.
Yeah. Pitched.
Is that supposed to be a reference to anything, or is it just
tater tot hot dish? Yeah, because
I feel like
that's what they said in the news.
That's not immediately apparent, and also it's a bad name for a baseball team.
It's a bad name for anything.
If I didn't immediately think of tater tot hot dish when hearing that means it's first of all failing to be a reference to the thing it's referencing,
right?
And second of all, it's a bad name for a baseball team.
Yeah, the hot tots.
This is incredibly narrow casting.
Right.
What we're talking about is. Here in the city we live in, Minot, North Dakota, there is a new baseball team. There's a league that our city is joining.
Right, it's a college field league. I mean,
and so they're having a contest for different baseball team names.
There's 5 different names. We had the Saber Dogs before, and that folded because that league folded. Now we get a new team, and they need a name for it. There's 5 different possibilities.
Saber Dogs was a great name for a town with an Air Force base in it, and the logo was the airplane, the saber, the F whatever. I can't remember, but anyway, that was a good name. But now we've got, let's see, there's the Hot Tots.
Yeah.
There's the Berserkers, which I want entirely so I can make the Clerks joke.
Right. Olaf from Russia.
My love for you is like a truck berserker. I would go to baseball games just to chant that.
Yeah.
But I
don't even remember what the other ones are.
I don't remember what the other one. They couldn't have been that good.
Yeah, they're not memorable.
Couldn't have been that good. Yeah. Fucking Hot Tots, though. That's also.
Yeah.
Because I have an immature brain, what also is what I think of is tatas.
Tatas?
Tatas.
Well, I figure, okay, if they go with that.
Or a funny misspelling of tits.
If they go with that, if you Google hot tots, you will have the fucking FBI at your house. They will be here taking your computer.
Yeah, I actually didn't think of that.
I want to see some hot tots.
Hey, you want to go watch some hot tots out on the field? I hear that the hot tots are taking the field today.
Is this a sexy Little League game?
It wouldn't be Little League, though.
No.
Little League's like
I suppose that's bigger kids, I suppose.
Yeah. Let's stop talking about that.
Oh yeah, please.
No, we're done with that.
I still say you look like a Bond villain right now. That is just so awesome.
So you finally arrived, Mr. Bond. Mr. Bond.
He's rubbing his kitty.
I don't know what accent this is. It is vaguely European.
I feel like that's a lot of Bond villains were vaguely European.
It's continental. And I also like how there are so many Bond villains where it's like, what's your end game here?
Yeah, what possibly? It sounds like you're spending a lot of resources to do something really dumb.
Really nebulous.
Right.
Like, what are you trying to do? I'm trying to turn all the world's diamonds into lasers. How are you going to do that?
Yeah, and to what end? What do you...
Because lasers are cool.
Look, Chris
Don't
Walken.
you love lasers?
I know you want to walk. I know you want to knock part of California into the ocean.
I want to.
But why?
I can't. I lost my. I haven't done a Christopher Walken impression in a long time. I've lost it. I don't even want to attempt it.
Right.
I started thinking about it and then it's gone. I used to have a pretty decent one.
Here, let me try mine. Hi, I'm Chris Walken.
Yes, and everybody knows him as Chris Walken too. Everybody. Hey, that's old Chris Walken over there. Good old Chris Walken.
Yeah, my first wife. That was one of her biggest pet peeves.
Wait for Walken.
That's just what he'll do. Yeah, whenever I would like talk about a celebrity using
refer to them by their first name.
Yeah, and the nickname version of it. If their name was Donald, they were Don now.
James Spader became Jim.
Yeah, good old Jimmy.
Good old Jim Spader.
Although there are good stories about James Spader where he's called Jim.
Really?
Yeah, because he was like when he was a teenager, he was best friends with JFK Jr.
Okay.
And so he was hanging.
I didn't know that about James Spader, but okay.
Yeah, and they were hanging out, and they were, as he puts it, doing some recreational things.
Sure.
And he said he got carried away with a bag of pistachios. And
as you do.
And ate all of them because for some reason he was hungry. And then they went up to dinner, and then he ate all of his dinner, and then he realized, oh no, I'm too full at this point.
Okay.
And he's like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And he leaned his head forward and he barfed everything back onto his plate. And all he heard was from somewhere else in the room, good shot, Jim. From Jackie.
Jesus Christ. That almost sounds like it could be the tamest Robert California story. Because every Robert California story is just, incredible debauchery. And that one's fairly innocent.
It is. It's
just it's particularly notable because it also happened in the house of the fucking Kennedy family.
Yeah.
But.
And the punchline was delivered by
Jackie Kennedy. Yeah.
Or it might have been Jackie Onassis at that point.
Or Jacqueline.
Yeah.
But that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Good old Jim Spader.
Good old Jim Spader.
Good old. My brain stopped working. I don't remember. I have a cat in my lap.
Yeah, that'll drain all your
distracting me because she's very cute.
There is actually a biological mechanism, I think, that just if a cat gets in your lap, you're stupid now.
Yeah,
that's just that everybody. That's
she's very across. Cute. I'm scratching her head and she's doing that thing where she's got her eyes closed.
Yeah,
and it's really cute.
It's adorable.
It's very cute, and she's very soft. So it's hard to pay attention to anything else at this moment.
You have a big soft kitty, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're gonna keep on making that joke.
What joke? I'm not making any joke. That's true. You have
she's
a big,
not
soft
that
kitty.
big.
Well, she's kind of big. I guess she's just fluffy. It's just the deal.
Well, she stretches out pretty far, but you ruin everything. I hate you.
I didn't do anything. Did you guys hear me do anything?
At me. He gave me a look.
Yeah.
And now because I yelled, the cat has left. Get this podcast back on track. What have I been doing? Nothing. I did start playing a game called Kenshi, which I've wanted to play for a number of years, but haven't played because I'm afraid of it. In much the same way as the Dark Souls games, Kenshi is Kenshi is what Minecraft would be if it were made by Hidetaka Miyazaki.
Okay.
And also if it was made in Hidetaka Miyazaki's free time in the middle of the night in his basement on a computer from 2005.
Sure. So is it for PC only, or?
Yes, I cannot imagine it possibly were. Also, I don't think it's actually even at all possible for it to actually be run on anything but a PC.
Why is that?
Because the engine that it runs on was like a free piece of software for making games. It's the story of Kenshi, not the story of the game, because the game has no story.
Right.
The story of the game being made is fucking bonkers. Like the guy who made it started making it in like 2005 or something, 2005 or 2006. It might have been a little bit later than that. I can't remember. But he started making it in like the mid-late 2000s. And, you know, started like making like blog posts about it and posts about his progress. And it didn't come out until 2019.
Oh, wow. Is it one of those concerned ape situations? Is it like what the hell's his name? The guy made Stardew Valley.
Oh, when you said concerned ape, I thought of like the dumb NFTs.
No.
That's what popped into my head. It's kind of like that. I don't think Stardew Valley took that long to make. And also they're like Kenshi is unlike Stardew Valley. Like Stardew Valley probably didn't take that long to make and probably wasn't all that difficult to develop because it is, you know, a 2D pixel game.
2D top-down pixel, right?
Yeah. Whereas Kenshi is full 3D with, you know, full animated models and whatnot.
Really?
And was made by a guy who kind of didn't know how to do any of that stuff when he started making, like, the guy who made it had never made a video game before.
Really?
And slowly over the course of 13 years developed those skills, eventually got enough money to hire other people to help him do other things. But like the engine that it runs on is extremely outdated.
Sure.
And basically held together by duct tape at this point. So I don't think it's possible to port it over to a console. And also it does not have gameplay features that would be at all conducive to being played on a controller.
Really? It needs a mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, I can show you it after we get done recording. It's like a real-time strategy game.
Okay.
And those do not have a history of working particularly well on consoles.
Sure. That's why you don't see StarCraft on a console.
Yeah, it's
one of the reasons.
There are a couple that sort of worked out, like the Halo Wars series are genuinely pretty good real-time strategy games that are also, I mean, the original one was only available on Xbox for a while until it got ported over to PC, and the second one launched on both. But because it's a Halo property, and Microsoft was like, why would we release these games on our largest piece of software that we had, you know, Windows? Why would we release these games for our other piece of software? I guess for a long time, Xbox was kind of quarantined from the rest of Microsoft, though. It was like a weird sort of thing.
Sure.
And now it's like they've realized, like, oh, yeah, we are the same company, aren't we? So we can have there be crossover between our PC stuff and our Xbox stuff. Yeah. But that was off topic. Like Kenshi is an extremely bizarre. It's like it should be far, far, far jankier than it is.
It only works on Unix.
And you don't mean the computer system.
No, exactly. I mean,
you need Varus.
Yes.
From I tried to think of his nickname. What was
the
he
Spider.
called? The Spider. That's right. I got Littlefinger and the spider mixed up in my head, so I was going to say the little spider, and I was like, no, he wouldn't have been called the little spider.
The little spider. The itsy bitsy spider.
Yeah.
But yeah, it should be way jankier than it is. It looks kind of janky. The graphics are horribly outdated for a game that came out 3 years ago.
Okay.
But it is it for what it is, it looks quite beautiful, but that's primarily because you are so far, the camera is, pretty far zoomed out of things.
Sure.
And the landscape is, the landscape itself is pretty. It takes place, what it is it's basically a merger between a real-time strategy game and like a survival crafting simulator. And it's in this big open post-apocalyptic world with a whole bunch of different factions. And there's no story whatsoever. There's just a world, and you're just, you aren't anybody. Your first character is just the first member of your squad and is not really your avatar necessarily.
Eventually you get a whole team.
Yeah, you can collect, other people and recruit people to follow you around. I've already done that, but your characters aren't anybody special, really. Like there are different, origins that you can pick that will change like where you start and some of the equipment you start with. Sure. But you're just kind of a nobody that's popped down into this extremely dangerous and hostile world where even the most basic bandits will beat the ever living shit out of you and leave you for dead. If they don't pick you up and take you back to their camp to eat you. It's an extremely hostile, like desert world. And if you aren't very cautious, your character, or your first character anyway, will die immediately. And then the game's over because you don't have anyone else to play as.
Sure. You have to start over.
After that, after you've got a couple of people, you can always just switch to your other people. But
right.
It's a really bizarre game in the context of how it was made and how long it took and how ludicrously successful it became. Like the guy who, again, the guy who made it in his free time and spent for a long period of time. His day job was working as like a security guard. In his free time, he made this game, and he was not really a game developer. And now they are making a sequel to it, and this time it's on Unreal Engine 5, which is, a game engine for making video games.
Nice.
And something that you can hire people to work on. I think that was also one of the big challenges later and later you get into the development of Kenshi, which is people don't know how to use this weird antique piece of software that I'm building this game in. Whereas fucking everybody who makes video games these days will probably have some basic understanding of how to use Unreal Engine 5. There's a lot of development tools in there.
So you're saying Kenshi, it's for Windows 3.1.
Basically.
Yeah.
It was not, when it was designed, like the engine that it uses does not like multi-core processors.
Really?
Can
you buy a not multi-core processor anymore?
I don't think so. The engine doesn't like there are certain things that simply cannot be fixed because they are endemic to the engine itself. It's like Bethesda's fucking incredibly old, outdated engine. They keep on trying to convince everyone that it's all new. It's like, no, this is the same shit you've been using since Morrowind.
Dude, it's diesel powered.
There's just a big engine in Todd Howard's basement.
Right.
That they have to keep on filling up with fuel.
Right.
It's just emitting so much greenhouse gas. Todd Howard, Skyrim is the reason for the vast majority of pollution in the world.
Yeah, Skyrim is the reason we're all going to die. That reminds me. You mentioned that it's a post-apocalyptic game. I'm wondering how long it's going to take before they start making pre-apocalyptic games.
I mean, I feel the thing is, though, because what you're trying to say is the apocalypse will come and then people will make games.
Right.
I mean, I feel like depending upon the timeline, it would have to be like a pen and paper RPG. Because depending upon the type of the apocalypse, I don't think people will be making video games after it.
It'll be a Which Way book.
Yeah, it will be a.
Which I had a whole bunch of those.
It'll be Dungeons and Dragons is the perfect game to get through the apocalypse with.
Indeed.
You need entertainment after the world has collapsed and electricity is no more.
Dice don't take electricity.
Exactly.
Oh, man. Can you imagine? I've never done this. Play D&D by candlelight.
I mean, we could do that. It will not be very long until it will be dark very quickly after we start playing D&D.
Right, because we're going to start at 4 now, and
it will be winter soon.
Right, and it'll be full because the reason we're doing this because of football season.
Yeah,
which ends in February. So
yeah, and also I don't know how because we are doing the whole what is it? Is it permanent daylight savings or no daylight savings? What the fuck did we do here?
I think permanent daylight savings is what we decided. No, we did decide on that, right?
I think so.
But it won't take effect until like next year or the next or whatever.
I don't fucking know. I can't remember how that shook out.
I think we're gonna spring forward and then be done with it.
Okay. Anyhow, I don't know how that will affect the, it being dark. It would make more sense for us to do the permanent daylight savings thing because the purpose of it in the first place is so that you have more daylight later on in the day.
Which that's great all year.
You don't come back home from work at 5 p.m. and it's already pitch fucking dark outside, which happens anyway
in the winter.
It's that happens anyway here in North Dakota. In January and February.
There are entire months where you and I will get up and go to work,
and it will be dark,
and we'll come home,
and it will be dark.
Yeah.
I mean that's just everybody who works roughly 9 to 5 schedule.
Yeah, in North Dakota.
In North Dakota, or further north, the entirety of Canada.
Yeah,
except for that one little
Toronto.
Yeah, though I was gonna call it a weird little tumor that pokes down between the Great Lakes.
Toronto.
That's Toronto.
Yeah. I worry about you because you walk home and it'll be dark.
It'll be dark out,
and sometimes
it's such a long walk, and there's so many things that can happen.
Right, and you should see how he dresses.
How I dress?
Yeah, I mean,
excuse me,
asking for it.
For what?
I don't know. I have no idea.
You haven't even said what could happen to me.
Well, I mean, all manner of things. It's nighttime.
I'm just asking for someone to come up to me and, I don't know, try to get me to join their cult?
Yeah. Someone to come up to you. He has a knife. He comes up to you and says, I like the Wonder Years too. Yeah.
That's the only weird thing that has happened to nothing particularly weird has ever happened to me on my walk home. The only weird thing that's ever happened to me in this apartment building is occasionally some fucking religious solicitors will get through.
Oh, really?
Someone will have left the door open and they'll just invite themselves in.
Oh man, it's terrible. I'm terrible. I'm a bad guy.
I can't bring myself to fuck with them.
I used to be that way, but then my little voice in my head said, "Dude, they're coming to you.
You gotta fuck with them.
If they're coming to you, everything you say that's mean is on the defensive."
Yeah, you're the castle doctrine.
Yeah, exactly.
but with interpersonal interactions.
Right, exactly.
You came to my door, motherfuckers.
Yeah. Let's talk about this. Copy the fucking watchtower.
I would be, if I had, infinite money, I would just keep a bunch of copies of Berserk and the first deluxe edition of Berserk and just be like, oh, you've got a free book for me? That's great. I've got a free book for you too. Here you go. Give that a spin. Opens up the first page. It's Guts fucking a demon lady that tries to eat him. You're in for a good ride.
Yeah.
Nothing bad. Nothing. It starts that way, and nothing bad happens after that.
Right.
Don't worry about it.
And so shall it be.
It only goes uphill from there.
Nothing but
Can
smooth
I tell you
sailing.
about our Lord and Savior Kentaro Miura?
He died for your sins. I mean, give them to you. Yeah.
It was of an aortic dissection, but it was for your sins. But why is your Lord and Savior called Guts? Well,
he has a lot of intestinal fortitude. Also, he rips people's guts out.
that's actually not why.
Why is it?
He was found by a bunch of mercenaries as a newborn baby, still with his umbilical cord attached underneath his mother, who was hanging from a tree. And so they thought he looked like a pile of guts on the ground, so they called him Guts.
I may have to borrow these books. That sounds like something I need to read.
Oh, it's extremely metal and also extremely depressing in equal measure.
Sweet.
It is kind of questionable content, the manga.
Yeah.
But I think like pretty much all of the most heinous shit that happens in it is clearly done by the bad guys. It's not one of the, like, I guess there is some glorification of violence, but also like Guts routinely gets the ever living snot beat out of him. Like, it's not really a power fantasy because he almost dies constantly and is in really, really awful shape all the time.
Okay, he doesn't sleep.
Yo, yeah, he like hardly ever sleeps because fucking ghosts are trying to kill him at night. His life is terrible. But anyway, I can't talk about Berserk because that'll be the rest of the night. So instead, we'll talk about
World
Punisher.
of Warcraft. Oh.
I don't know fucking anything about World of Warcraft.
Warcraft. No,
Warhammer.
Warhammer.
Yeah.
It has the word war in it. I don't know why that's a problem.
Warcraft was originally designed as a Warhammer RTS.
Sure.
Before Blizzard was like, we're going to make our own thing.
Right. Then they split up with Warren Buffett. And then.
Yep. And then wrote a book called War and Peace.
Exactly.
It all happened just like that, folks. So Punisher by Phoebe Bridgers.
Yes.
Album that came out in 2020. If you don't know who Phoebe Bridgers is, she's a, I guess, indie music artist. Yep. That's, again, the most succinct way of describing all the different musical styles that she tends to incorporate into her work. Is indie rock, indie pop, experimental. Particularly this album incorporates some experimental music elements into it. Lots of, a whole bunch of different genres and textures and so many different like little instruments and samples that are kind of just intriguing and kind of off the wall in this album. Whereas her first album, which was called Stranger in the Alps, which is a oblique reference to the censored for TV version of the line from The Big Lebowski, which is, "This is what happens when you fuck a stranger in the ass," and instead changes
Find a Stranger in the Alps.
But that one was a mostly kind of conventional sort of indie rock album. Whereas this has all sorts of interesting stuff going on.
Very atmospheric. A lot of the sounds are just
so much interesting stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
Phoebe Bridgers been in a whole bunch of different bands since she was. She's a couple years older than me. She's a fairly young person, but she's been making music for a long time.
Sure.
And has been involved in a ton of different projects. But she started making solo material in like 2016. This album, I didn't really know anything about Phoebe Bridgers before this album, and really before, like, it took me like a year before I started listening to this anyway.
Right.
But I came across Phoebe Bridgers primarily because I had already been listening to Julien Baker for a couple of years on and off. I'm not like a massive Julien Baker fan, but I like, some of her music. And I keep on intending to like listen to like your new album and stuff, but I haven't done that yet. But I was aware of the band Boygenius, which we're also going to talk about a little bit.
Yes.
I was aware of that and vaguely aware of Phoebe Bridgers. And then I think last year I was watching Taskmaster, which is a panel show in the UK. Extremely funny.
Right.
And there was a contestant who was wearing a T-shirt that was like a metal band logo.
Yeah.
And in the comments on like commentary on Reddit, someone was like, what's that band, that T-shirt that they're wearing? It's like, oh, it's Phoebe Bridgers. And I was like, oh, this is one of those things where it's like a non-metal artist does the metal band logo. That's cool. Then I listened to this album and it was like, oh, fuck, this is my shit.
Yeah.
this is my kind of shit. All right. So to kind of describe this, it is I mean, the lyrics are about many different topics, but primarily touching on mental health and relationships,
regrets,
dissociation. It was sort of a theme that she had mentioned in interviews as being inspirations for a couple different parts of songs. Just, exploring all kinds of different things. It's a pretty low intensity sort of album for the vast majority of it.
Yeah, it's very atmospheric.
Very somber.
Yeah.
But it really, her voice is just so, she doesn't really go like, I don't know enough about the mechanics of the voice to describe it, but she does
very breathy.
The lower registers, not the, maybe it is the term. I don't know.
Potentially.
The lower register of like, you're not really, there's a point where you put a point of air pressure that you're putting into your voice where it sort of changes between kind of the talk singing and then, further up. I don't know what I'm talking about. But she not a lot of, I don't know. I'm just going to stop trying to say whatever it is I'm trying to say because it's not going to come across. But yeah, very breathy voice is, I guess, the quality that her voice has. That went nowhere. I don't know what I'm doing.
It's like 2 minutes we're not going to get back.
Yeah, I know. So does this album slap?
I mean, it doesn't slap in the sense that, there's going to be a mosh pit at her shows.
Yeah, yeah.
But it slaps.
I wouldn't put it past her fans, though. It's. I think things get kind of weird at her concerts.
I mean, this slaps, and I would say, yeah, this is really, really good.
In the sense that it's an extremely good album.
Yeah.
Then sure.
Sure.
It has a 90 on Metacritic, which is pretty good as an aggregate of many different reviews. That's I'd certainly be happy if I made something and put it out into the world and the aggregate of what everybody thought of it across the internet was 90.
Right. A strong B+.
I'd be pretty happy with that. Or an A, depending upon the grading scale.
I guess. Sure.
If you're just doing, a regular 10% grading scale, that's an A. So when I was in the school that I went to, which was the school in my town, the only one.
Yeah. You mean like high school?
Yeah. Well, and grade school. It was all the same building.
Right. Of course it was.
My entire school experience, all 12 years, all 13 years, I guess, counting kindergarten, was all in the same building.
Because everybody's related.
Yeah, everybody's related. We all know each other. But they had a really weird grading scale where it was like not even I think it was 6%.
Really?
Not even fucking 5%. It was like 6% or something. And then I got to college and I would get grade my like a paperback and it was like 75. Oh no, that's a C. Never mind. Okay. Because a 75 would have been a fucking F in high school. And instead there's a C. And I'm like, oh, okay.
They prepared you for college.
I guess. Yeah. I was set up to be, happy enough with, I was happy to be an underachiever, or not an underachiever, but a perfectly middle of the pack student. That's how I strive to be. I don't want to be noticed.
I'm extremely average.
That's fine. You mean no one will pay attention to me because I'm neither good enough nor terrible enough to be worth any sort of comment. Awesome. That's not true. I think I do crave validation.
Sure. I mean, you were in speech club.
That's true. It wasn't speech club.
Sorry.
It was the
Speech Academy.
Yeah. That wasn't academic, though. Academically, I strive not to be noticed, but in other ways, I crave validation.
Right. That's why you dress like you do.
Yes. I'm known for my provocative dress.
Exactly.
Of many vibrant shades of gray. Which is, I have noted.
Which is that book's about you.
Yep.
It's your life story.
Yep, it's my life story. Mm-hmm. I'm a billionaire. And I wear jeans when I fuck.
Yeah.
So, what's your favorite song on this album?
They all scratch kind of a different itch, but
I know they do.
I mean, I think the ones that come to mind most are Kyoto. I really love that.
Kyoto
song.
is a really good song.
I love Halloween. I love Moon Song. The song that really fucking sticks out to me is the last goddamn song.
I know it's impossible not to, though.
Yeah.
The song is called I Know the End. Uh-huh. It's, I believe, the longest song on the album.
It is, and it's got a lot of the same feel to it for the first part.
And then it completely... That was the song that sold me on Phoebe Bridgers as an artist in entirety. I listened to the rest of the album leading up to that song and was like, oh, this is pretty good. I don't know if I'll come back to that. I listened to the first, 3 minutes of I Know the End. I was like, oh, this is pretty good. And then there's that key change.
Right.
And something just... like a door opened in my brain and Phoebe Bridgers walked through it and went, I'm living in here now.
This is
forever.
My home. Yeah.
I'm staying here.
It goes off the rails at that point.
Oh, it's so good. And it turns into this, like there's a key change. It starts, there's a guitar strumming that starts to happen. Things start to heat up. Right. Then there's another key change and there's fucking an orchestra that starts playing. She starts screaming. Right. Oh, my God.
And I love the little nuance of the very, very last few seconds.
Yes.
That's
out of breath, whisper screaming, and then laughing. Yeah. It's a wonderful, wonderful note to end the album on. And it's just like it has lived rent-free in my head for, however long it's been since I started listening to this album. So that is absolutely my favorite song. But I'm definitely with you on Kyoto. I think that's it's like the catchiest song on the album as well, despite the fact that it is about a tumultuous relationship with her father. Mm-hmm. It's like saying a lot of seemingly quite deeply personal things, but also it's kind of a bop.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really like Garden Song, the first full
that's
cut.
Great.
And also there's this, I can't remember his name, but there's this male singer that provides vocals. It's one of the deepest voices I've ever heard.
I'm wondering if that's a male or is that just her voice affected?
I think it's a guest vocalist. There's a shitload of guest vocalists on here that aren't, listed as featured, but there's a ton of guest and recording personnel.
That seems like an effect a bit, or maybe that dude just has that voice.
He very well might. I mean, there's some pretty deep bass singers out there. Mm-hmm. But I really like Garden Song.
As soon as that skinhead disappears from next door.
When your skinhead neighbor goes missing.
Yeah, that's it. We'll play the garden.
It's the lyrics bounce between like deeply, deeply personal and just bitingly sardonic.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes at the same time.
Sometimes at the same time for sure. I really like Graceland too as well. I like all of, like you said, they all scratch a different itch and do it just about as well as the next one.
Right.
I really like Graceland too because it's basically a Boygenius song.
Yeah.
Which is maybe a decent segue for us to talk about Boygenius. So Boygenius was the EP came out in 2018. And it was Julien Baker, Lucy Dacus, and Phoebe Bridgers collaborating on an album together. And from my recollection, I should have read up on it again, but from my recollection, part of the reason why they decided to do this collaboration is, first of all, they were friends and they're all musicians.
Sure.
And second of all, because there had been like fans sort of in the indie, music space who sort of had been kind of like pitting them against each other. And they were like, we all love each other and are fans of each other's music, so we're just going to make an album together so you all can shut the fuck up. It's not a competition. And so they made an EP together, and it's I really, really enjoy it as well. It is definitely, it's a lot more conventional than Punisher is as an album, but it's still like, if you're not the sort of person that listens to like indie rock, it might sound a little strange to you.
Sure.
But I really like all the songs on there for their own merits. I think like all three of them have a nice variation in their voices as well.
They do, and that's why they blend so well. I mean, it's just, ow, mother of pearl.
What did you do? Did your beard get caught in
my glasses
hinge of your glasses?
Yeah. So I started to lift my head up to talk about the thing we're talking about. Suddenly I'm getting hairs yanked out of my chin.
That is hilarious. He's got his glasses sitting in the crook of his sweatshirt. The crook, the neck.
The neck.
The collar. That's what those are called. But in any case, they all three have very different voices.
Yeah.
Again, Phoebe Bridgers has a very sort of breathy kind of voice. Julien Baker, I don't know quite how to describe Julien Baker's voice. She's from, I feel like you can tell when she sings that she's from Tennessee.
Yeah, she's got that a little bit of that drawl, that
little bit of a southern drawl in her voice.
And it works with these kind of harmonies because they're doing the sort of old timey, sort of 3-part harmonies that flow together.
And then Lucy Dacus has a very rich, I would describe her voice as just being very rich and
chocolatey and
kind of. If we're just talking about like, I was about to say creamy, which sounds a weird way to describe someone's voice.
It does.
But it's the only word that came to mind. Right. She has a very pleasant voice to listen to. It's very smooth and easy to listen to. And all three of them just blend together very perfectly. Did you like make a note of what your favorite song on that EP was?
I think, I did. Well, again, I like them all. And again, that whole different itch thing. But,
I know.
But I think Salt in the Wound was
it's a very good song.
Was my favorite on there.
I think for me, it's kind of a toss up between traditionally, I would say Me and My Dog.
Okay.
For the time that I've been listening to this album, that has been the one that I gravitate towards the most. But lately, I'm also like, when I go back and listen to this, I find myself really liking Souvenir and Ketchum, Idaho.
Ketchum, Idaho. Yeah.
Which is the last song on the EP. And it's quite a bit more, especially compared to like Stay Down, which is probably the high point to the album.
Right, the Ketchum, Idaho has like steel guitar and shit.
Yeah, it's like probably the most country song and the most probably sort of downbeat. But yeah, I would love to see the three of them, and hear the three of them do another collaboration.
Sure.
If you are a fan of like indie music and have not listened to Phoebe Bridgers or Julien Baker or Lucy Dacus, you should listen to all three of them. I've listened to probably an equal amount of Lucy Dacus's and Julien Baker's albums as well.
The more you say Lucy Dacus, I think it's maybe Jason's relative.
Oh, Jason Sudeikis?
Yeah, it's Lou Sudeikis.
I see. But anyway, I've listened to their stuff as well, and I really enjoy their work as well. But yeah, if you like independent music, you should check all three of them out. They're very good. And certainly give Punisher by Phoebe Bridgers a listen. It was up for like 3 Grammys in 2020. Didn't win any of them, unfortunately, but it did get a very enthusiastic tweet from Elton John before the Grammys that said, if Phoebe Bridgers doesn't win everything, I'll be fucking furious.
And she didn't, but
she didn't. So I guess Elton John destroyed a grand piano that night. I don't know.
I have a feeling that Elton John is actually the Hulk. He's that's his secret, Cap.
I'm picturing
he's always furious.
Elton John's because you know how it's Mark Ruffalo's face, but Hulkified. I'm picturing that, but it's Elton John.
Right.
It's really funny.
Elton Smash
with and his teeth are exactly the same too. He's got the big gap teeth.
He's got crazy glasses on.
It's just really funny to think about. And he's still got the feather boa too.
Yeah, he does. Of course he does.
But anyway.
Saturday night, all right. For Smash. All right. Yeah.
Elton Smash. And somehow he still sounds British too.
Elton Smash.
Now it's just an orc from Warhammer.
Yeah. That's what he becomes.
What metal are you bestowing upon Punisher by Phoebe Bridgers?
I give that a gold. Yeah, I will listen to that again.
It's a gold. I've listened to it way too many times for it to not be a gold.
Actually, I want to go home and listen to it again.
Yeah. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
So speaking of really good, what are you going to bring next week? Because I'm sure it'll be really good.
Yeah, well, we're still doing non-metal month, yes?
Yeah.
That's all, folks. Next week, what I'm bringing is something that I know is 40 minutes long.
Okay.
And the reason I know it's 40 minutes long is because it has 40 songs on it.
Okay.
What they decided to do is they were going to experiment. They realized that if you just cut all the fluff and bullshit out of a pop song, it's the length of a commercial. It's basically 60 seconds long. Okay. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to record 40, our own top 40, 60-second commercials.
Okay.
And that's what they are. It's the commercial album
by
The Residents.
Oh, God. Have we done a Residents album
We
before?
did. We did Duck Stab, Buster, and Glenn. I thought
that's right, yes.
It's been a long time since we've done a Residents album.
Okay.
They're like 80 Residents albums.
Yeah.
We could do a second.
We can be bad.
Yeah.
We can treat ourselves. Do a second Resident. If I got a second Residents album, you'd share, right? You'd share? If I got a second Residents album
for the table,
it's for the table.
Yeah.
We can be bad. All right, the commercial album by The Residents. Let me write it down on my little board, and maybe I will remember it and not have to ask you.
We have a tradition of that now. Every week, what are we doing?
And it's Wednesday at 1:45.
I like doing it that way anyway. I mean, a lot of times I will listen to the album way ahead, and then I'll have to listen to it a second time anyway, again on Wednesday, because I want it to be, when we do this,
fresh.
I want it to be fresh.
Yes. To be fresh.
Fresh.
And I know what the last album of September is going to be, because it comes out next Friday.
Oh, yeah, of course. I'm actually looking forward to that as well.
Yeah.
By the way, I compared...
No Wonder Year's album is coming out.
I was going to say, I compared a lot of what Phoebe Bridgers does lyrically to what Soupy does.
Yeah,
there's a lot of overlay there.
They have. It's probably part of why I like it so much, because it felt fairly familiar in that sense.
Right.
But yeah, that's kind of the next couple of weeks for us here. The Residents next week, and then the week after that will be The Hum Goes On Forever by the Wonder Years, which I'm extremely, extremely excited about, and I'm sure.
And your knee is bouncing, because I know you also have another thought about it.
Well, the thought that I have, because I hope at least the vinyl that I ordered will get here the day it comes out. I'm probably going to lay on my floor and cry.
Oh, sure.
But
you were also speculating that it might be.
I mean, it's just fans doing what fans do.
Sure.
But there's like a vague feeling that it might be their last album. I doubt they would announce it like when it comes out, like, this is our last album. It'd probably be like, all right, let's tour. Let's see how we feel as we keep on touring. Because a lot of them have kids now. They're married.
Other candles in the wind.
Other
irons in the fire.
Yeah, other things that they could be doing that they had to start doing during COVID.
Candle in wind
is pretty hard to be a...
Sorry.
Calm down, Elton Hulk.
Hulk and
John. Like, over there's Hulk and John. He's just like a local like ruffian,
right?
Be quiet. Hulk and John might be listening. He'll beat us. He'll box our ears, he will. Anyway, so until next week's episode, which again is the commercial album by The Residents, you can go ahead and find our pages on Facebook and on Twitter. Give us a follow there if you want, and maybe that's your preferred method of getting updated on when we upload episodes. Otherwise, go ahead and subscribe to our feed on whatever you're using to listen to us, whether that be the Apple Podcast app or Libsyn's, the podcast source. So anyway, thank you very much for listening to another episode of the Bronze Metalist Podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
Congratulations.